In this lecture, we'll learn about arrays. So, in the first few lectures, while learning about the data types, we discussed about the arrays as well, but not in depth. So, arrays are basically just another data type. Okay, so why do we use arrays and what is its role? Okay, let me explain to you. So, basically, now I'm creating a variable of a equals to 10. This means that there is a variable name called a whose value is 10. But if I have to add multiple values, then how would I do that? I will write 20 and 30 here and I'll save it. And here it's showing an error because this is not a valid method. If I have to store multiple values in any variable, I have to use arrays. Arrays is used to store multiple values and one variable. I've made a variable with the name of array. We put the bracket. I will insert the value inside of it. If I want the numbers, then I will insert the number 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70. I'll save it. And this is how it looks like. This is my array. This is how an array looks like. If you check its data type, will be shown as object. So that's what I told you in the previous lectures, that whenever we check an array's data type, it is shown as object just in JavaScript, but in other languages it's called array. In JavaScript it will show as an object. So if we print it, the result will be like that. I'm writing document.write, I will print array. Now, see, my array has been printed. If I create a loop now, and how to show it with the help of loop. Alright, so now before starting the loop, let me explain to you one thing. The values that you see here, like the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, if you wanna extract them, or let's say if you wanna call them in JavaScript, then you would have to use the index. Like, the index. For example, if you use the index 0, it means that you're using like the position 0 in this array. You're requesting that JavaScript shows you the value of 10. So 0 relates to 10. If you use, for example, the index of 1, then you will get 20. Okay, so now I'm writing document.write, then I write array, I'll put this bracket, I'll insert 0, and as you can see, we have the 10 here, which has been displayed. If I insert the index of 6, it means like the position of 6 will get the corresponding value, which is 70. And that's how we operate in an array. That's how we think. That's how we extract values according to their index positions. So normally you would say that they are sorted as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. But in JavaScript, the first value is 0. The first index is 0. So if you want to call the value of 10, then you would have to use the index of 0. If you want to call the value of 20, you would have to use the index of 1. Alright, now we'll make a loop. We'll make a for loop. I told you that always use the for loop because it's easy to make the initialization and condition in just one line. So I will make var with the name of a with the value of 0 and the condition of a is less than or equal to 5. So what will be the meaning of this value? It means a is equal to 0. I've assigned this to it. A is less than or equal to 5 means that till whenever a is less than or equal to 5, these values will keep on showing. We do not count the values of 5 like this. We count the value 5 in these arrays like 0, 1, 3, 4, 5 till 60. It means that till 60, until my value is equal to my target value, my loop will continue on running and running and running. Okay, so now let me do the increment in it, a++. My increment has been done and will display my file. Okay, so I wrote document.write here, then I printed my value a in the variable named array. Now it's showing here, I'm putting a break here, I've put a concatenation here, and now see that the break has been done. As you can see, the break has been done. And that's basically how you can use arrays. Okay, so now if you want to write it in a different form, so you can do that by using the HTML tag. That is also not a difficult way of doing it. So to do that, I'll go below this variable and we'll type document.write. Then I'll write UL and save it. Here, I'll have to put tags. I'll copy it, I paste it here. Now I want to display it in the LI. Okay, so how will we do that? I'll copy it, I'll paste it here. Here it's necessary to put the concatenation sign. I'll put the LI here, and now I'm removing this break because it will come automatically in the break because I'm using the LI. Then I'll save it. Now you see it's showing in a list form. Okay, so in this way we can display arrays by combining them with the HTML tags. But when you use events and call the HTML tags, it will work automatically. That's the advantage. So that was it for the arrays. That's how you can display the arrays in loops. And yeah, that was it for this lecture. And now on to the next one. In the previous lecture, we learned about how to create an array, but now we'll learn how to delete and modify the values in an array. For example, if I make a variable and assign to it a certain value, then I add some values. I'm adding a name Joe, as you can see. Inside of it, I'm adding a value, then I'm adding a name Dan. I'll print A using document.write. Now it has printed this. Okay, so now if I want to modify some values from these, we'll put a break and a concatenation sign. Now whatever I'll print it will show in the next line. I want to change the value of the first entry. So how can I do it? I'll type A, which is my variable, putting bracket. I write its index value. The index values are 0, 1, 2. So I want to change the index to 0. I write here Munib, I save it. I'll copy it again, I'll print it, I save it. And see the value I had, 0 has been changed to Munib. So this is how you can change the index value in JavaScript. If you want to delete any value, then how we can do that? Let's say, for example, I want to delete the 50 value that you see here in front of you. I write delete, then the variable, and then the value which I want to delete. Then I save it. Here I'll print using the document.write again. I save it. And as you can see, it missed my value of 50 because it's been deleted. Okay, so now pay attention to this. If I try to print the index value, which I have deleted, then this is what you get. So here I'll display my value 1 and it's showing undefined. This is what you'll get because we've already deleted that array value. So what's the main role of modify and delete in an array? The main use is that when we already define any array and we want to change the value, we do it by modifying and deleting that value in JavaScript. So if we already defined an array and we want to change a value, we simply need to use the modify and delete functions in JavaScript. Alright, so that was it for this lecture, and now on to the next one. We've already learned so much on arrays, like how to make it, what's its syntax, what are the indexes, and what are its uses, and how we can do the modifications and delete some stuff, but there's much more to it. So, array has a lot of methods. An array is a data structure which can store a fixed size collection of elements of the same data type. That's what an array is. So if you remember what we talked about previously, you should be very familiar with the following definitions. So basically, an array is used to store a collection of data, but it's often more useful to think of an array as a collection of variables of the same type. Alright, so we have different types of array methods. First, we will do sort and reverse. We'll do each method one by one. Okay, so now I'm going to my VS Code. Now I'm in my VS Code, I'll make an array, and in the array I'll specify the data. I'll save it. Then here I'll display the data. I'll print my array, I save it. Now here it's showing, as you can see in front of you. So the sort and reverse, which we saw in the presentation, I'll show you how to use it. So here I'll select my array, I'll write sort, I'll save it. Now as you can see, my statement did not run, so I'll have to run it again. I'll write my array A and I save it. Now I'm putting a break here, then the concatenation. Now as you can see, it's showing in a sequence, in alphabetic sequence. The one with A will be on the top and the one with B will be the next one, and so on. So I'm putting here A, B, C. Now I'm copying it, I'm pasting it, I'm putting D, E, F, then I save it. Now as you can see, it's showing here. So basically what I just did was to arrange it by myself. So here as you can see, I'm doing F, and then here I do A. The above statement changed, but the lower statement did not change. Why? Because there I've used the sort function. We have one more function, reverse. In the reverse function, the array gets bold. So as you can see, my array has been reversed. This is how we can arrange in a sequence while using the arrays. Alright, so that was it for this lecture, and now on to the next one. In this lecture we'll learn two new methods with the names pop and push. In the previous lecture we learned about sort and reverse, but in this lecture we'll learn about pop and push methods. So let me show you how it works. Okay, so first of all I'm deleting all of this, making a new variable with the name of X. I'll make an array, and then I'll put some names like Ben, Trump, and after Trump I'll make another variable called Munib and I save it. Here I'm getting some error. Now it's alright, so here I'm displaying X with document.write. Now I save it. Okay, so now I'll do the pop and push. If I write x.pop, then its result will be the following. So it will delete the last value of my array automatically. So I'll have to print it again. Here I'm printing it, and here I'm putting a break. And as you can see here, it's been deleted, like my last value has been deleted. Alright, so this is the pop method and how we can delete our last value. But if you want to add in it, we'll write x.push, and I have to give a value in it. So I'm giving a value of Denley. I have to print it again. I save it. Denley has been printed automatically. So we can do something like this in modify and delete method, which we studied before. So mostly when we move to some sort of professional level coding, we have to use these methods. So by using these methods, our work will look more professional, and all the functions which are in demand in the market will be used. Alright, so furthermore, we can do it by deleting the following, but sometimes we do not have to delete our values, so depending on what we're trying to achieve. Alright, so we used a new method by adding a new value, and by doing this, if we need to use a previous value, we do not need to delete the new ones. Alright, so that was it for this lecture, and now on to the next one. In our previous lectures, we used these methods: the sort, the reverse, the pop, and the push. But now we'll use the shift and unshift. So we'll check every method one by one. And by doing so, our concept can be clear. Okay, so if we used every method at a time, some concepts can be missed, so we should check it one by one. Alright, so the shift and unshift have the same link with pop and push, but they work in an opposite manner. Let's see how it works. So how the shift and unshift work. Alright, so I'm in my VS Code now. I'm making an array called Z, and then I write the values of 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I save it. Now I'll print by writing document.write, and then I put a break here. Okay, so now I'll use my shift method. I'll use the shift method. Then I'll have to copy and paste it so that it would print again. Okay, so now what happened after using the shift is that my first value is deleted, as you can see. In the pop and push method, when we talked about it previously, by using the pop, our last value was deleted, but by using the push, we added a new value. So basically, it adds in the last one. Now, the difference between the shift and unshift method is that when we use the shift, our first value gets deleted, and for the unshift, let's see how it works. So I'm just writing unshift, and I add 13, so our 13 value has been added at the start, as you can see in front of you. So this is how it works. This is the use of shift and unshift, which is the opposite of pop and push that we saw previously. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this lecture, and now on to the next one. In this lecture, we'll learn about two new methods, the concat and the join methods. Alright, so what is the function of concat and join? Concat function is to merge multiple arrays in one array. That's the functionality of the concat. It is to merge multiple arrays in one array. So let's see how it works. Here I'm creating two arrays. And the first one I'll populate it with the name of Munib, and then I'm copying it, I paste it here. These are the string numbers 20 and 30, I save it. Now I'll print these two using the document.write. So I want to print A and B. Both have been printed with each other, but how to print it by using the array method, let's see. So to do that, I'll make a new variable C. I'll write a.concat B, meaning that A and B will merge together and display in one array. I save it. Okay, so actually it's not displaying because I did not use the document.write to display the C variable. Okay, so look, now it is working apparently as it is. Okay, so I'll now check the join method, how the join method works. So to do that, I'll make a new variable D and join the C. The basic function of join is that it removes the commas in the arrays. So apparently it did not work because we did not print it. And save it. Alright, so now as you can see, it did not work because I missed something. I'll put a /. Okay, so actually the mistake is what's the mistake? Alright, so the mistake is that I did not put the D while printing D. So here I got the /. If I remove the / and put space, then it will show the space. I'll put the concatenation break and save it. And as you can see, due to the concat, both are now attached. That's the use and the objective of the concat method, is just to concatenate, to join pieces together, to join objects together. Alright, so as you can see, the concat displays two arrays in one array, and also join them by removing the commas in the array. Alright, so that's pretty much it for this lecture, and now on to the next one. In this lecture, we'll use the slice and spice method on arrays. Alright, so before using these array methods, let me tell you one thing. You know that we used a lot of array methods in the previous lectures, but the problem is that you have to know when to use them. And to know exactly like when you need to use a specific method on an array, the best is first of all to learn everything, like all the methods that you can use, and then when you practice with some exercises, you will better understand and you will have a better view regarding like which array to use and when to use it. Alright, so methods of arrays are mostly used to retrieve any data or storing any data. Alright, so we'll learn the slice and splice here. So first of all, I'll create a variable. I make it an array where I'll start inserting the names, Doe, Ben, Payman, Joe, Munib. Here I made my array. After making the array, I'll display it. So why do we use the slice and splice? Basically, we've learned about the pop and push. We learned about the shift and unshift. So yeah, as you remember, we can delete and modify the first and last value. But now I want to show you how we can manage the center of the array, like the central value. To do that, we'll use the slice. So I'll make a variable b. I'll assign my first array. I'll call it slice. The role of the slice is that from where my value gets started. So if I write 2 here, I save it. No value will be displayed because I did not use the document.write. Alright, so now I see that my value did not display because I did not use b. I save it, and now as you can see, my value starts with 2. So this is 0, 1, 2. My last values have been deleted. If I use 3 here, then my 2 values will be displayed. Alright, so you'll have to understand these concepts. Then you'll be able to do any big project that clients give you to work on. Alright, so if I write -3, then it will run according to -3. If I write -2, then it will run according to -2. And after this, we have the splice method. So what happened with the splice is that we can add our values in the center. If you want to add a new name in the center, then we can do it by using the plus. I write a.splice. This is my last array and we'll define it. After that, I write 2 and 0, meaning that on my 2 and 0 index, new values should add. Alright, so what value I want to add? I want to add a value named Saba, and here Kiran. I save it, I display it. Alright, so now here my new values of 2 and 0, as you can see, correspond to Saba and Kiran. They have been added. Alright, so if I want to change my index value to 3 and 4, now see it. It's been 3 and 4, and my Joe and Munib have been cancelled. So that's pretty much it for this lecture, and now on to the next one. Okay, so in this video, we'll talk about the isArray method. So, the isArray method determines whether the past value is an array. It's quite simple. So in other words, this method is used to check the data type of the past value and tell us if it's an array. So it will simply tell us if we have an array in front of us or not. Okay, so here I'll create a variable and take some numbers in it and initialize the array, and then I make one more variable and write array. So isArray in it. I use document.write and print the value of b. I save it, and it's showing true because this is an array. And if I remove it by using the comment, so make one more variable and take the number data type, save it. Now it's showing false because this is a number data type and not an array. So that's why we're getting false. If you want that, if your function is an array, it should run the statement, otherwise it displays a false statement. So you can do this as well. I'll use here the if-else statement and give a condition in the if statement with a. I save it. I remove the comments from one statement, and in the document.write I print this is an array, and as you can see it's displaying the statement. Okay, so now if I remove the comments from the two statements and I put it in one statement, so this is showing nothing. Alright, so now in the else condition document, write out this is not an array, save it, and yeah, so this is how you can use the isArray method in JavaScript. In this lecture, we'll learn how to use the index of and the last method. Alright, so how can we do it? How can we use those methods? Alright, so let's see. Alright, so I'm making a variable a. I'll make an array, I put some name here, Munib, Asim, Ali, and again I use the word Munib. So how index of work? Alright, so you need to understand that after using Munib, I'll use Saba and save it. No need to print it. I'll make a new variable name B, and then I'll select a.indexOf. IndexOf is used for searching the array's content, and yeah, so basically by using the indexOf method, on which point we'll get the indexOf value. I'll type Ali and save it, and now I'll print it. Okay, so after writing document.write, I'll print my B statement. I put the concatenation and the break. It's showing 2 because Ali is on the second index, is on the index 2. So basically 1, 0, 1 and 2. I'll print it as well. I copy it, I paste it, I gave the space, I wrote the A. And as you can see, here we have 2 Munibs that have been used. So when I write Munib will show in front of you, it's showing 0, but we want to find this one as well. So to do that, we'll have to go with the index value from a starting index. So I'm giving 1, and now as you can see, it's showing me index of 3, because I specified that index searching should start from ASIM. So the next Munib after ASIM will be shown. If I take another Munib here and I save it, as you can see now, I'll start from 4, I save it, and now it's showing me the 5 index. So in this way we can find our index from the index of method, and we have the last index of as well. So on the screen in front of you, you can see that our index value work in an opposite manner as compared to the index of method. So look here, for example, it prints 3. And yeah, so that's how we can use these methods to search for our elements in an array. And now on to the next lecture. In this lecture, we learn about the forEach method. ForEach is mostly used in making the forEach type loop. It can be included into a loop concept, and we can use it in an array method as well. So now I'll specify my variable to use the forEach method. You need to be careful that whenever we use the forEach, you have to keep the E as a capital letter. Okay, so now I'll make my function. The reason of creating this function is that the forEach loop will not work without it. That's why we need this function. Alright, so now I'll give a name to this function. After giving it the name, I'll give it a value. So a value named parameter. After giving the value, I'll write document.write and we'll give a value. So after giving a value, I'll put a break so that my statements will display on the next line. Alright, so now I want to have my index value displayed. So I'll give an index in parameter, and I will also print my index value in the document.write. Now I'll put the concatenation here. Putting the concatenation will show us some space, as you can see here, and will make things displayed in a much more beautiful manner. Alright, so this is how it's being displayed. I'll give it some space in the concatenation and see how it looks. As you can see, that's how it's displayed. Okay, so I'll put a bracket here, but actually I'm not putting the bracket because I'll have to put commas again, so it's fine for now as it is. And that's pretty much it for this lecture, and now on to the next one. Alright, so now we'll see our new methods, toString, value of, and fill. ToStrings is basically used so that we can change the array in string. So, for that, first of all, I'll make a variable called A. I'll insert the value in it. I'll give it a numeric value so that I'll not have to write much. I have given 20, 60, 70 as values. After that, I'll print my statement using document.write. So my statement has been printed. Now I'll use the toString method to make my array into a string. Now I'll print this statement. The statement will be printed the same, but it will be as strings, not as array of numbers. So these values are seen together. That's why I'm putting a break here so that my values move to the next row. Now you can see both statements. So what's the difference between these two statements? The first statement is an array and the second one is a string. When we change the array into a string, then we cannot use the array method on that string. So sometimes while using JavaScript, we need to change array into a string, so we use the toString method that time. This method is mostly used to print an array statement just like we do in the document.write. So the same as we do with the value of, it's mostly not being used, it's just for the information that how to use value of. So we don't have to work like this. Alright, it's just for our information, like for information purposes only. Alright, so now we'll use the fill method. So to use the fill method, I'll select my variable and I'll write fill. Fill is mostly used when we have to add our values. So as you can see here, there is a dot. If I write the value, then it will be printed 3 times, as you can see it in front of you. So as it is, it's being printed 3 times. It will override the previous value. And if I print hello, it will be printed 3 times as well. Alright, and now on to the next lecture. In this lecture, we'll see the include method. The include method is used when we make a lengthy array and forget which values we used in our array. To do that, we use the array method that helps us to find our values of array. Alright, so as you can see in front of you, I'm making a variable here, and you can take the numeric value or strings. It depends on you. So I'm taking the numeric values, I save it. Here I'm writing document.write, I print my A, I put the concatenation and the break, I save it. Now as you can see, my values have appeared. So now I'll make another variable in which I write a.include. So I wrote the value of 30, I saved it, I'm copying it, I paste it here, and then I save it. So here I did not change my variable. Now I change it, I save it. Alright, next. As you can see, it's displaying the value of 30, so apparently I did a mistake. Sometimes even professional coders also do this mistake, so I took all the numeric values in my array. Now, when removing the inverted commas and saving it, my values have been drawn because we took the numeric values. Alright, so now if I take string as 30, I save it. So I get this value because I took the value string and the numeric. That's why it's finding this one. Alright, so whenever we want to find which value we give in our array, then we can use the include method, as it is very useful method in JavaScript. Alright, so that was it for this lecture, and now on to the next one. In this lecture, we'll learn about sum and every. Sum and every methods are used when we make an array and want to check the values inside of these arrays. So the process is a little bit lengthy. First, we'll have to make a function, then we'll return the value, then the value gets a return. So let me show you how it works. I'll make a variable with the name of A, I'll make an array in it. So I'm taking the numeric values of 10, 2, 15, 18, 20, I save it, I'll print this array, I'll write document.write, I print it, and I'm putting the break here, and now it's displaying this. So here I'll make another variable and identify it with B. I'll call the previous array. Here I'll have to write sum because we are using the sum method. So to do that, we'll have to make a function. I'll name the function checkValue, and in that we make the parameters of name A. We save it. Alright, so now I'll make a return value. So that's what should I return. A will make a return value. That's what should I return. If the age is greater than or equal to 18, then I get the value in true and false. So here I'm writing the name of the function checkValue. Now I'll print my statement. So now I'm copying it, I paste it, I print my variable b, I save it, and it's showing true. Why true? I think you understood why I used it. So now I'll come to the next session. The problem would be in the check value and the function. That's why I made this function. So mostly the sum and every method works in this function. That's why we made the function. Okay, so identify the function with a name and give it the parameters. So after giving parameters, it has to return a value. You can use any method, the comparison method. I took the comparison operator. In this case, it's a greater than or equal to 18. So it means that when it will check my array and see that there is any value which is greater or equal to 18, we'll have two values, and I'm making these values less than 17. I save it. So now, as you can see, it's printing the false values. Okay, but if I take any value above 18 or 18, then it will show me true. So this was our sum method, but if we use the every method, then it's showing false. So I'm changing it to 20, still I'm getting false. Alright, so now I'll take all the values of 18 or greater than 18, and now my statement is true because in each one of them it checks all the values, so all the values should be true. If any value is false, then it will print false. In summary, when it takes the correct value, it makes our statement true, but in every method in which all the values should be true, then it will print true. And now on to the next lecture. In this lecture, we'll see how our find and find index methods are used in arrays. Alright, so in the sum and every method, we were running our statement and it was showing the value in the true and false. But in the find method, we have to get our value which we have used in the array. It's somehow like sum and every, but the difference is that whatever we find, we get that as a result. Like whenever we find it, we get that as a result. Okay, so now I have these values as you can see in front of you. I took this code related to the last lecture, which we used in sum and every. So let me show you like what I'll do. I'll put a find here. I save it. Now, as you can see, it's printed the value greater than 18 or equal to. It's printing the first value. Now I'm changing all the values. I'm putting 15, 16, 17, 18. And now as you can see, it's printed the 18th value. So if I change it to 17, as you can see, it's printed the value greater than 18 or equal to. So that's how it's showing the value which we are looking with the help of this method. So if we are searching for a specific value, that's how you do it. The value it feels is right will print that statement first. So in this way, we can find our values by using the find method. The find index and the find method is similar, but the only difference is that it displays the index value. So the find index is similar to the find method, but the only difference is that it displays the index value. So now we have like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is on the 4, so it will show us 4. So it's on the fourth one, as you can see, so that's why it shows us 4. If I write 20 here, it shows us 2. So this is how you can use the find and find index method for in JavaScript. And now on to the next lecture. In this lecture, we'll check the filter method. So in the previous lectures, we talked about the sum, the every, the find, and the find index methods. In the sum and every method, it prints the value that was true or false. We also saw that in the find method, we found that if the value is true, it would be displayed, and by using the find index, it can also show the index of the value. But now we want all the values that are true to be displayed. Like here, for example, my two values are true, so I'll use the filter method here. Now my two values which were true have been displayed. If I write the 50 here, it will also be displayed. If I make my statement less, like for example 10, then all of them are displayed as you can see. So in the filter method, if my values are true, it will display, but when it is not like this, let's see how it works. So let's see when I change my condition, it will not display, as you can see. So if I use the every method here, it's showing the false statement. If I make my statement 50, it's not showing true. So I'll have to make another variable to solve this issue. Basically, we do not need to do it right now, but you got the idea. That's how you can use the filter method in JavaScript. And now on to the next lecture.